Evening, everybody. Just let's get rid of the Dirty Talk logo. That looks better than me. Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dirty Talk Show. As you can see, scroll along the bottom. This time we have Gareth Swanepoel. Managed to get hold of Gareth. Gareth used to race in the UK. Without further ado, let's bring him on because he's in. There he is. He's in Florida. There's a little bit of a lapse with the lag with the conversation. But Gareth, how's it going over there in Florida? Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yep, I can hear you.
There you go. There you go. All good out there?
Yeah, good. How you guys doing?
Well, apart from the shitty weather in the UK and the fact, mind you, America has been like freezing, hasn't it? Maybe not Florida.
We've had some crazy weather. Obviously, California is pretty good as per usual, but Indianapolis was freezing, snowing. It was like minus, 8, 10 degrees Celsius. And then I'm actually in Florida right now, and it's been raining all day. So pretty much on par of Belgium or England right here in Florida.
Listen, you're well traveled. I mean, you started off in South Africa, made a name for yourself there. Then come to race in the UK, GPs. We'll get onto that in a minute. And you ended up finding yourself as an AMA racer and then returning coach. I wanted to talk to you about that because your role, you've ended up being the coach for Monster Energy Star Yamaha. And what a role that is. I mean, you currently got riders leading both the East and West Coast. I mean, that's got to be a pretty cool thing on your resume to say that. Championship's not won yet, of course, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good as far as this year. I mean, we've got, Christian Craig and Colt Nichols have, pretty much dominated the coast. Obviously we've got Jet Lawrence who's given us a run for our money, but they've been doing really good. I trained both of them. And then Justin Cooper, obviously, he's my guy on the other coast, and he won the first race the other night. So, so far so good. I mean, it's pretty interesting though. He's, Justin Cooper is, he won the race on Saturday night, and then he drove up with me on Sunday to Florida to come stay in the new house they have in Florida. And he might be good at riding dirt bikes, but he's not very good at building furniture. I'll tell you that.
What? So you got what? Have you got IKEA over there? Is that a thing that you have, or like home base? Where do you get your furniture? So you've got a brand new house, but with no furniture.
No furniture in there. I'm actually sitting on a mattress on the floor right now. And we've got some furniture, and we got a bunk bed from my little 3-year-old that came in, and Justin and I attempted it. And as far as we got was just unpacking the box last night. That's about as far as we got. So
well, you said you'd be busy. Later. When we spoke before, setting this up, you said you'd be busy. I didn't realize that just to that extent. You should have said, man, we could have done it another time.
Well, originally we were supposed to come a week beforehand. So we're supposed to do this after Orlando won. And then the weather in Florida was so bad that we decided to go back to California and not have those guys come and spend their first, the week before the first race.
Right.
Because Justin broke his foot. So he had only been on the bike for 4 or 5 days before that race. So we didn't want to risk bringing him out to Florida and miss any days of trying to ride. When you're so limited on time that we decided to postpone the trip. So originally when we set this up, I should have been here for over a week. But it is. There's just no stress.
Well, listen, we're talking to the riders. You mentioned the ones that you train. I mean, how long? How? Let's get into that. The dynamic. Do you have you obviously have set drills that you do with a lot of the riders. I get that, but do you have to tweak certain things with certain riders to get the best out of them? Hopefully you heard that because you've frozen on screen at the minute. By the way, go on. We can't hear
you. Okay, perfect. So basically, I have a set program, especially on the dirt bike. Like it's set as far as like the pro guys, the guys that are all up and swinging and nobody injured and stuff like that. They'll have a set kind of program to do on the track. And then as far as personalizing it, I might have one guy stay extra and work on something that he needs to, or work on starts, or work on cornering, or work on whoops, or go an extra day with them and change the plan. And then as far as like the amateurs guys coming up and stuff, I'll do their stuff a lot differently to the pro guys. So it's really a lot that goes into it. But before, when I only had 4 or 5 guys, it was fairly easy to handle. But now I've got up to close to 10 guys. So I've actually had to hire somebody to help me, when we personalize the program. So I can't be in 2 places at once. So, like the guys that are up and running, they will do a regular program, work on a few things, and then they'll go off to the gym and work with the guy that I've had to hire. And then I'll stay at the track and work on specific drills, whatever it takes, whatever we've got to work on that day with whoever it is that needs to be worked with.
So what you're working with the amateurs as well. Obviously, you started off with a few riders. Whose decision was that? Was that led by the team saying, "Look, we want you to take care of all the riders," or is that something that you pushed for with Bobby? How did it work?
No, it's totally Bobby's push for it. So basically, originally when I first started with Bobby, he had decided. He called me up and he said, at the time I didn't have anything to really do, and he called me up one day and said, "What are you going to do next year?" This was at the end of 2013. And I said, I don't really have much of a plan as of yet. I had a few options to go back to Europe. I had a few options in America. I had a few options in Australia. And he said to me, what you should be doing is training Cooper Webb. And, long story short, he pushed me to give Cooper a call, and I did. And he jumped on it right away. And then, so at that time, I was just personally with Cooper. And then, then Aaron Plessinger turned pro a year later. Then he wanted me to work with Aaron. And then I'd actually started working with Chase Sexton as an amateur kid. And we ended up losing Sexton to go to Geico. And that was when Bobby said, "Okay, now, I'm going to hire you as a team trainer." And basically, there's 1 or 2 guys, like say Jeremy Martin, who has all these, ducks in a row and does his thing. We let him do his thing. Or like, Ferrandis, who likes to be more personally, doesn't want to be in a group. We let him do his thing. But as far as the rest of the guys, when he signs them, he'll say to them, "All right, well, you have an option to train with, Swanee, but if you don't train with Swanee, we're not going to sign you." So it's
well worded. That's how you do it.
So yeah, so he's pretty good with that, and then so it works out well. It works out really well. Like I say, obviously for this year, it's been quite hard with a lot of guys, but so far it seems to be working pretty good.
So look, we got a couple of comments coming in. By the way, for those of you watching, don't be shy. If you want to ask Gareth something or get it across to me, just punch it in below if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, and it will pop up on the screen here. We can throw certain questions. And also, so just do that. And also, I forgot to mention at the start, thanks to FXR as well for getting behind what we're doing. And one question coming, well, not a question, a statement from Jamie Smith. Jamie, good to see you watching. This made me laugh. Gareth, you like this? I think you... I went on a training day with him on my 40th birthday 6 years ago. The man was pretty good, in all fairness. Jamie, I should hope he is bloody good. He's training the Star Yamaha team. He can't afford not to be good. So there you go. I suppose that's a kind of backhanded compliment there, Swanee.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one.
So listen, how did it, like this year, with the extra riders coming in? How soon did you know that the team would be bigger? How soon do you have to plan your training for that? Because obviously new riders coming in, you've got to hit the ground running, or any rider. The Supercross is so tough at the minute, probably the toughest it's been in depth.
Yeah, to be honest, it all came, obviously, as you know, with COVID and stuff, everything came together very last minute, like that's why the 450 team is doing, really well, but it's been a struggle with even the 450 side because, they only got hold of the 450 program in November and we start racing in January. So, they had very limited time, even for myself working with the riders. Plessinger was coming back from a really serious injury. Malcolm joined the team. He only got on the bike second or third week of November. So it all came together last minute. And, you know, it was like, okay, we signed this rider, then we signed that rider, then we signed this rider. So it started snowballing pretty quick, quite last minute. And, you know, I just had to pretty much hit the ground running and just figure it out as I was going along. And like I say, I actually hired Bradley Taft, who used to train and work with me. And he came available, and he actually called me up one day and said, "What are you doing next year?" And I said, "Yeah." Thank goodness you called me, Bradley. What are you doing? He said, "I'm not doing much." I said, "Yeah, well, show up at my house on Monday, and I've got a few jobs for you to do."
Have you got to go and tend to the boy?
Yeah, I think I just heard him
This is
shout.
great. I say before we came on air, Gareth just said, "Look, just arrived here, as you've already heard him explain. New house, so he's bought a house in Florida, and yet furnished. And he's also the missus has gone out, so he's also got to do
a
kindergarten. Oh, nice, nice.
2 garden chairs in the living room.
That's a new look. That's minimalistic. That's how people like stuff these days. I can hear him. So we got Gareth multitasking, proving that he can do that. Men can multitask.
He's decided he wants some chips while he's watching his show.
Get him on. Get him on. What's his name?
His name's Luke. I'll get him on here. Let me grab him.
Yeah, let's get Luke Swanepoel on. The next Swanepoel racer who's going to come through the ranks. I bet he won't listen to Dad, though.
No, he doesn't listen to me at all. You're supposed to do the Stacey race at the stadium on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. To do it. And then as soon as they said they got a COVID test him, and I tried to get him to get a COVID test, he said, "I'm not getting a COVID test done." And I said, "All right, fair enough, I suppose."
Oh, that's funny. I like that.
All right.
Is he on?
All right. Well, yeah. What? Yeah, but I got my AirPods, and I suppose I can take
Oh,
them
okay.
out.
Yeah, no worries. Well, at least we've seen him. So listen, going into the first round, then.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, you're all geared up. Everybody's buzzing about it. You obviously set expectations for riders, but coming out of that, you know, obviously a great win for Christian in that opening round. You know, and he was obviously new to the team and stuff after what happened with Geico, but he looked really, really emotional out there. How was the vibe in the camp after that first race win of the year?
Yeah, that was a big race win for us. Obviously, you know, that's the kind of thing you know, for myself and the team, we try to pride ourselves on, you know, taking a rider who hasn't necessarily won that much or been that dominant and's had all the potential, and then they come on the team and you know, obviously you guys know the bike's fantastic, and then the training program and stuff, and you know, for the win, it's just a real feather in the hat for everyone, you know, involved, to take a rider that, you know, has all the potential but hasn't quite done it, and then they come to your team and your program and they get it done. So, you know, it was really good. I kind of wish in a way, not in a bad way, but I kind of wish in a way he wasn't so emotional about it, because I feel, you know, we try to monitor the highs and lows, you know, not to get too excited when you do win and not to get too bummed if you don't win. But yeah, I mean, it was really a big win for everyone involved.
It looks like between obviously Christian.
Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I can hear you. Obviously between Christian and Colt, they're going at it. Obviously, we're yet to see what's going to happen in the other light series. But between Christian and Colt, obviously they're going for a championship. But it looks like you've got it well drilled with those guys as a team. It looks like they've got real good respect with each other, and there's no sort of edginess. Like, it seems like they got a mutual respect, and it's not sort of stepping over the line of what, you know, with two team riders racing for a championship.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, even when they're both sharing the red plate, you know, they literally, you know, I think it's you know, we run a pretty good program with that whole thing. You know, like, they're both running the red plate. You know, they both show up at my house right afterwards. We do the gym workout. We just, you know, I really like to try act like, it kind of sucks in a way because, you know, if you win, you want to celebrate a bit more. But I kind of really keep it a strict thing of whatever happened at the race happened, and you show up on Monday and it's back to work. It doesn't matter if it was good or bad. And, you know, they both show up, they're working out together, we're going on a bike ride, they're both chatting with each other on the bike, you know, about this on the track or that. You know, I mean, even last round, they show up in the damn car together. I mean, Cole jumps in the car with Christian and his family, and she's at the back in the back seat with Christian's kid, and they drive to the race together. Then they show up and they're all buddies, and then as soon as the helmets go on, they're pretty fierce competitors. But then as soon as it's off, it's just like, you know, we're just in the moment. Just you guys are every man for himself on the track, but once you get off, you just keep the respect for myself and the program I run, and you just get to work. You know, don't stress about it. It's just focus on the work you got to do right now. You know.
Have you ever, over the years, has there any been, you know, any in-house tension that you've been caught in the crossfire in the middle of that you've had to deal with?
Yeah, well, back in the early days when I wasn't full-time just Star, I trained Bowers when he was at Pro Circuit, and then obviously Cooper Webb, and those two were going at it for a championship. And remember, Bowers T-boned Cooper, and that was a tough one. They wanted nothing to do with each other. So then I had to do things separately. Like I literally had to have one show up at the gym this time, one show up at the gym at that time. Go on 2 separate bike rides, split the groups up, go, all right, this first few guys are going with Cooper, the next few guys are going with Bowers, and I'll go with both of them. And that was tough. But now with Star Yamaha, like I said, it's you know, there's obviously myself, and then you got Bobby, and you got a couple people that are above me that are just like, hey, just let these guys know this is no bullshit. You know, you just get the job done, and if you guys want to cry and sulk and be all mad, just do it on your own time. You know.
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions for you while we're talking about training. Are you still in a position, because I know you obviously, you know, you have to practice what you preach. You don't maybe ride so much anymore, but I know you're still right on it with your fitness. Do you still school them sometimes when you go out doing the fitness work, or like the mountain biking and stuff like that?
Not as much as I'd like to. So basically, the young kids, obviously, I've still got covered. But the old boys, yeah, Colt and Justin Cooper are in absolutely phenomenal shape. I mean, Colt's on par with you know, some pro cyclists, you know, segment times and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't quite school those boys anymore, but I'm still strong enough to dangle a carrot to make them suffer when I want them to. And you know, we'll do part of our training in the, you know, depending on the block we're in or something, we'll actually do a time trial effort up a mountain road. So it's basically just a dirt road. It's 8 miles up, 3,500 feet of climbing in 8 miles, and then we'll actually stagger it. So we'll go, you know, like Justin Cooper and Colt Nichols will start right at the back, and then we'll go slowest to fastest, and we'll put the slower guys, and we're going like 3-minute, 4-minute increments. And so I'll start right in front of those guys in that last increment in front of them, and I'll, you know, be talking shit to the stronger boys and be like, you know, you guys not going to catch me today. I'm going to smoke you, and then they'll do everything they can to catch me, and we'll race that way. And the last time we actually did it, Colt didn't quite get me. He almost got me, and Justin wasn't able to get me. So even though they technically beat me up there, I was bragging to them for quite a while afterwards.
Dude, that's impressive. If you just like said how good Colt is, and you're you know, you're still right in there in the sharp end, that is impressive. I basically, as you well know, you've seen my body shape when I was with you last for Mickey's wedding, and I'd probably pull a hamstring just getting on the bike, to be honest. But then, you know, that's the difference. That's why I'm in media, and that's why you're still doing training and all that kind of stuff. So with the youngsters, then, you know, like Thrasher and Fry, you know, how's their development at this stage? You know, are you seeing, without pulling them up live on air or anything, is there obvious things that you feel you need to work on, and what are their strong points at this tender age?
Yeah, I mean, they were, you know, they're both going really well. We were pretty much in shock on their performances this weekend. Really, if you look at, it's just why it's so difficult for rookies, right? I mean, Justin Cooper's obviously come back from injury, and he showed up at the track and he's riding in the first few days. He was off their pace, and in the last few days he was riding probably better than I've ever seen him ride, like he was at the race. And those two rookies are right there on his heels, and then you go to the race and he wins, and they totally were terrible. So there's a lot of work to do with that. Obviously, we've seen a lot of work, but not to make excuses for them, but the track was also probably the nicest track so far that we've even had. I mean, if you just take the 450 guys that have been racing every single race and how much they struggled on the track and their complaints about the track and trying to get the bike set up for the track and stuff like that. So they definitely got thrown in the deep end for the first race. Normally if you start off the series, the tracks kind of are a little bit more mellow, and then they get more technical and more difficult as the series goes. And they got thrown in at probably the hardest race of the year so far, and it was their first ever Supercross. So if you look at it from that perspective, you got to do it to do it. I mean, you can practice as much as you want, but the only way to gain the experience is by doing it. So that's you got to take it from that perspective. But like even France stuff, we went on a bike ride this morning, and Thrash had a big crash, and he was like, man, I'm so happy with the weekend off. I'm so stiff and sore. And then Friday, I was like, man, I wish we were racing. I got to redeem myself. That was pitiful, So they definitely are better than what they showed, and I feel they'll come into it. But it's just difficult, you got to race this opposite coast, and it's just strange races, like that Orlando 2. Like I said, it's nothing we've ever seen. It was rock hard. It was the whoops the whoops were basically just drug over from the weekend before and barely even touch, and they didn't even touch in the whole night, which they don't normally do either. They're normally prepped before the night show.
Yeah.
And then now we've got Daytona coming up, and Daytona is a specialty kind of race. So it's a tough coast, but I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, the whoops on TV, from just on TV looked sketchy. Cincerello's crash kind of outlined that, and a few others. You mentioned Aaron Plessinger a little bit earlier on. I mean, there's more to the eye than what people realise with Aaron, wasn't there? Because he's rolling now. The 450 class is super stacked. He's had a couple of barren years, but a lot of people don't know to the extent of what he's gone through. It's been a difficult time for him, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Aaron's actually, again, in my opinion, that 450 class was really tough, like you said, but people don't quite get. I mean, when he hurt his heel in Daytona a few years ago, I mean, he absolutely shattered his heel. So that was, that could have been a career-ending injury for many people. And he came back from that, and then he just started getting the ball rolling right before the outdoor season last year, and crashes and dislocates and destroys his whole wrist, broke bones, multiple bones, multiple fractures, dislocated the whole wrist. I was literally with him in the doctor's office while they're putting his wrist back in place. We found this really good surgeon that fixed all of it, but had this, went through this hard thing of coming back from that, pins sticking out the bones and screws, and in cast for 3 months and all this stuff. And once again, got back on the bike basically right by November, rode 2 weeks of motocross, and then mid-November starts riding Supercross, and then January is racing. So I feel like he's a lot better than people give him credit for being. And he's had a couple good results, and he's been solid, and he struggled with the bike setup and all that kind of stuff. But they're definitely getting him there. He's a lot happier now with the bike setup. So I think in the long run, I think Aaron's going to come together, and he's on a contract year, so he really needs to get it together.
You always need to do that when contract comes around. I'm sure he's moving in the right direction. Just one more question before we wrap up talking about your job at Star Racing and whatever. The house you've got there, before we came on air, you said, look, you've bought a house in Florida. Now, I asked, have you bought a house in Florida so you can switch from coast to coast? But as you told me, you bought a house in Florida for a reason, because it looks like you're going to be, relocating and working out of Florida. What's the reasoning for that?
So basically, yeah, the team, once they expanded and got the whole 450 setup going, they decided they wanted to do their own facility, and they did. So they bought Ricky Carmichael's place, and right now we're just slowly in between. So the plan is to still spend the season in California, but and then relocate everybody, riders, team personnel, everything after the outdoors. But seeing that we have Orlando weekend off Daytona, we decided to come out here and spend those 3 weeks here and slowly get it rolling. And so I just got a house and we just moved in here. We're going to be here for 2 weeks and slowly get it figured out and then go back to California for the rest of the season. And then slowly from there, we're going to, get going after that.
That's a huge commitment,
but yeah, it's quite
from Bobby. And I mean, that is really taking it to a level of, I know there's like a degree of factory support from Yamaha, but to basically purchase your own facility, for all the riders to train at and whatever is huge, because, obviously California, you've got the factory Supercross test tracks all there, and you've got a fair amount of tracks, it all pretty closely connected. But obviously the soil and dirt is so different, isn't it, as well? So I guess you'll have to be bringing in some clay and other bits and pieces to get a bit of everything going on at the facility.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why they wanted to try to find a facility that was built, and Carmichael's was the one that made the most sense. Just looking at the track layouts and the amount of clay and the machinery and the location and all that kind of stuff. So they went for that, and then they're going to build a full massive workshop at the facility. So that's going to be a whole next level thing, So, could you imagine like testing and all that kind of stuff? You want to test, and it's not like
you literally roll the bikes.
Test.
Yeah, you can literally
roll the bike straight out of the workshop
and back in.
Back in, exactly. So it's gonna, the whole goal is to try even up the program and up everything to the next level. And it's a huge commitment, because obviously like everybody's got to move and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's going to have some bugs in the beginning. Like now we're even just struggling with the weather and stuff. That's one thing you take for granted in California is you never have to plan around the weather. You can literally ride any day of the week, any time of the day. You never have to worry about any of that. We're right now, like, we couldn't ride today because it rains. Now we're going to ride tomorrow, but it rained a fair amount, so probably going to have to wait till afternoon to ride. But I think just being based on the East Coast is easier for travel for the team members, the riders, obviously. And then, for the team, I think that they're going to really enjoy it. They're going to enjoy being all there,
And sometimes it's just good, isn't it, to have a bit of a reset and something new, an exciting project to just keep momentum fresh and everything going, So in that sense, that can work as well. Just a quick question before we wrap up with your Star Racing gig. Here we go. Carl Hutchins has asked. No, I can't remember. Do you train Mookie? Did you start at the beginning? Did you say you did or you don't? I can't remember what you said now. You do.
Yeah, I train Mookie.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's the question. What will it take for Mookie to win a 450 main? Has he reached his potential yet? Carl Hutchins is asking.
Yeah. No. I trust me. We've been scratching our heads saying the same thing. I think it's going to take a few things. I think his fitness level is not quite where I want it to be. Again, he's definitely a lot better than he once was, but he's not quite at the level he should be, in my opinion. He's quite a lot of work when it comes to that. Like, he wants to train, he wants to work hard, but he wants to also do it on his terms. So him and I butt heads on that a fair bit, but he's getting there. And then the bike setup too, you know, the bike setup it's also getting there. Like I say, I feel like he was pretty limited. You know, the team's made huge strides in the bike. The bike's looking a lot better than it was. But I feel it's a little bit of just, you know, that last little percentage is going to be bike setup, him riding it a little bit better, his fitness coming on a little bit more, just a little bit more discipline on his side. I think it's just what it's going to take for him to win a main. You know, I mean, he's close, he's right there. It's just that last 5 minutes. You know, he's got, you know, the speed of top 3 right now, and then the last 5 minutes he's an 8th place guy. So that's really what it's going to take, is just like I say, just a little bit more discipline from his side, a little bit more, you know, tinkering on the bike, and then just a little bit more speed, you know, work on technique and stuff. I feel that's what it's going to take. But, you know, we're already on round 8, going into round 9, so he's got to figure out pretty quick.
Yeah. So obviously that's your gig, and talking about the riders there, and obviously we wish you the best of luck with all of them for the rest of this season, outdoors as well. Before, just very quickly then, on that note, talking of outdoors, how soon do you have to wait for the Supercross to finish before you start getting the guys geared up for outdoors, or do you sort of towards the end start transferring over and doing motocross training while the Supercross is on?
Yeah, it all depends once again. So like now Christian and Colt have got, you know, an 8-week break. So they'll do a 3 or 4 week motocross block of training and motos and stuff like that. And then they'll go back on Supercross for 3 weeks. So it's nice for them to get a head start. And then the other Coast 250 guys, you know, you kind of just evaluate it. So we've had it where sometimes, you know, like I say, if somebody's not in the running for a championship, you say, okay, you know, we're just going to focus on outdoors and then just go to the Supercrosses and purely just race them. You know, and then if somebody's in it for the championship and that's a priority, then we just keep them on Supercross and they literally get to ride motocross for a week or 2 and go race. And then the 450 guys, what we'll actually do is we'll slowly just start incorporating some motocross. So like now we have weekend off, so, you know, we'll do some motocross riding, and then we'll sorry, I'm just tending to the child at the same time.
You tend to the child, don't worry. We're going to wrap this up soon. So it's got one more thing to talk about.
We're good. We're good. But yeah, anyway, we just slowly, it just really depends on the rider and what his situation is for Supercross. But yeah, normally what will happen is you'll just dedicate days. So like, you know, say if they're going to race Supercross, then maybe we'll just go, okay, you're going to ride motocross on Monday and Tuesday, and then you can hit a bit of Supercross, just get your timing, feel for the race on Thursday, quick little Supercross, you know, 10, 20 laps, and then go race on Saturday. So yeah, once it starts winding down, we start focusing on motocross. But then, you know, you got the guys that are in it for a championship, and they say, screw it, you know, I'll just figure out the motocross as I come.
Yeah. So do you still get on a bike? Luke Mellows' ass. Yo, Swanee, keep up the good work. Do you still spin some laps, or are you done with that? You done just with the push bikes, and you don't bother with actually getting on a motocross bike anymore?
I don't anymore. So, you know, up until basically 2 years ago, I still did a lot of testing for Star. So I would actually ride a fair amount myself and do a lot of testing. And then once I kept getting more and more riders, and I got more and more busy, I just didn't have time to do it. So funny enough, the last time I rode was actually in Bergen in Holland, before the Des Nations. So we're just testing some forks.
Okay.
Testing some stuff, and I just gave my input for Justin, who actually tested the European setup that they had for what's the Belgian rider's name again?
Who's that?
The Belgian kid that rides for Yamaha.
Oh, Jago Goetz.
So I tested his. Yeah, I tested his suspension setup versus our suspension setup, and then kind of gave an input for Justin to figure out, you know, which one he would like and stuff. And that was the last time I rode. So basically, yeah, a day in Bergen, which was pretty crazy to think like I've come so far doing. You know, I started off riding at Bergen as a young kid, and then I show up there with one of my riders who's now racing for America at the Nations, and I'm testing suspension for his bike on that track. So it was quite a crazy thing to think of, but yeah, that was the last time I rode.
He made a good account of himself, I think. You know, it didn't go his way on race day, but I thought he came across as real professional and really cool about it. He impressed me at the Nations. He might not have got the result he wanted, but particularly through Saturday,
yeah, was
impressive. He was impressive.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. You know, we chose to do a different route to what the other Americans did. We stayed back in America and we actually just rode like a rough track in the hills. And I just said, you know, I can teach you the technique you're going to need. I feel this is enough for us to learn the technique. And he believed in it, and he showed up in Europe, you know, really going good. And Saturday was really good and everything was going fantastic, and then, you know, it goes and crashes on Sunday, and then
Sunday,
and yeah,
at that stage it was a lottery, wasn't it? The weather was so bad. So
yeah,
all great stuff, and obviously it's real insight to what goes on at Star Racing there. But let's just sign up, because I'm not going to hold you much longer, because you are babysitting after all. You are doing your daddy duties. Very quickly before we sign off, obviously you came out of South Africa, you know, to work your way up to GPs. You did that, and then you obviously had that stint in the UK. How was your time in the UK and riding for for Mike Church and the whole gang down there? Did you know, how long was you in the UK for? I can't even remember.
I think it was 4 or 5 years, you know. So you know, looking back, I really enjoyed it. I mean, you know, still as good as Star Yamaha is, you know, Mike Church's team is still probably the best team I've ever been in. And, you know, just, you know, Tom Church and stuff. And, you know, basically grew up with him. You know, I showed up as a kid and grew up with.
He was part of the Marshfield Mafia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still speak to Tom Church regularly. I speak to Jeff Walker regularly. You know, Tommy Searle and them still take the piss out of me. We're in group chats, and also taking the piss out of me still. You know, Tom Brown still hits me up for jerseys weekly. So, you know,
I see that. I need to get one off you. I've got Searle. I'm going to have to get one off of.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit Tom up for one of your jerseys. So you still speak to them regularly?
My highlight of the whole motocross of nations was at the monster party afterwards. Tommy Searle was there, and he asked Justin Cooper if Justin Cooper knew who he was, and Justin Cooper didn't know who he was at all, had no clue who Tommy Searle was. And that was the highlight of my Devs Nation trip right there.
That is awesome. I wish I would have been there to see that.
Yeah, that was a highlight. The look on Tommy's face when Justin said, "I have no idea who you were," was just priceless.
Well, you know, we're all getting on now. Well, I'm further ahead of you, obviously, but yeah. But it was good. You know, I remember, because you coming into the British Championship and adding a degree of flair. The British Championship was strong then. Obviously, you know, you were going at it at GPs. I think we gave you was on the cover of Moto. We gave you the cover on one of the issues from Vulcan's Wild, a Paul Bliss photo, if I remember, looking mighty fine in your Thor kit.
Was that the most sold issue, or was, you know, still holds record for most sold?
I think it was the second most.
Oh, okay.
Our most popular one was a photo blowout that we just had a load of photos in, but it could have been the second most popular, because it was a really cool front cover. No, it was a really cool front cover. I remember going through the pictures with Blissy. He always ended up choosing them anyway, because he was the photo editor. But I remember going through some of them with him, his selection, and going, "Oh, that would make a good cover." And luckily, he went for it. But yeah, it was good times, and you had some particular good races, as I recall. I remember was it Fox Hills one year? Didn't you have like what happened? Was there an on track? I can't remember. I just remember there being something controversial.
Yeah, with me and Brad Anderson. Yeah.
Ando, that was it. And you were down the hill.
I had some big battles with Anderson. Yeah, I wasn't happy with him. He cut me off. I thought he would pull a dirty move on me, just in the high speed area that I wasn't too happy about it, and I mentioned it on the podium. So
that's right. I remember now.
Yeah, I had some really big things on battles with Brad, and so looking back, those were. I mean, he's still. I mean, he's still going. He's still going. He's amazing.
Yeah, he wants to hit 40. He wants to still be racing when he's 40. So he's got what I think this could be his last year. I think he turns 40 this year. So.
Yeah, hats off to him, man. He's phenomenal. That's impressive.
Yeah, but it was good times. Yeah, and and I guess coming away from home and living in a foreign country, and then being around another family, they're like surrogate family. You kind of learn from them, I guess. And they obviously, because Mike and Paula, particularly, I think they ran that team from an outside looking in with a real family-friendly vibe. Because let's be honest, it was a family-run team. So it probably helped you in more ways than you knew at the time.
Exactly. No, it was a fantastic team. Lisa Church did such a good job. And, from everyone, from Hot Tub, the driver, it was really we'd always go out and eat, and Tom Church, and like I say, me and Tom Church, we still talk all the time, and it was really just such a nice group of guys, and like I say, when you're doing it at the time, you never see the things because you're so focused on just trying to get results. But now I look back, and you grow up and you realize how much goes into it and stuff. Like I really appreciate what they did for me and all the other riders, and I mean, I got you, Paulette, and they helped springboard so many of us and get us to where we're at now.
Yeah, that's great. Look, Gareth, I really do appreciate your time, particularly as I said, didn't know that you were moving house, and certainly didn't know that you were babysitting.
No, I didn't plan on it. I went out and did the bike ride. Like I said, we got to do a bike ride with Ricky Carmichael. It took us around these old stomping grounds. Then we hit the gym. And then I came home and the missus was like, all right, I'm out. Good luck, And I was like, I got to do this, this phone call later. And she's like, yeah, he'll be fine. You'll be fine. You guys will be fine. And I was like, okay.
And I hardly heard a squeak from him. He's been good. Listen, dude, great to talk to you again. Great to see you again. Obviously, from the last time I was over in California, I will inevitably, I should imagine, see you in Florida at some point. Really wish you the best of luck with the rest of the season. Big up and well done on a great career. Ultimately, you're still in the industry. You've had a great riding career, and now you're being a successful coach and playing a big part in it all. So, congratulations on that. And let's stay in touch, and I'll call in on you one day if you'll have me. By then, you should have some furniture. I'm not asking to stay.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to put a spare room in or a spare bed, but it would be good to have a chair to sit on and have a coffee with you at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And if I ever get this bunk bed up, you can stand on the bottom bunk.
Listen, I'll leave you to it. You do your thing. Good luck at the weekend. Obviously, you've got a weekend off, and it's then it's Daytona. So I hope the riders do well at that, and we'll maybe catch up with you at the end of the year. Nice one.
All right. Thank you very much.
Quickly before you go. Very quickly before you go. Max Hendy, you remember Max has just come on. I better just give him a shout because part of the Marshfield massive. And the MJ Church team.
So there you are. Mechanic one,
yeah, exactly. There you go. So Max calling in. Right, mate. I'll leave you to it. Thanks for your time. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck, mate. All the best. Right. So there's Gareth. He's out of here. Appreciate that. Gareth coming on because, as you can see, he's a busy man. I suppose you would be when you're running Star Racing Yamaha and you've got that many riders to look after. Then this move to Florida. That's all a bit of a coup, bit of a scoop. Didn't realize that I might be a bit behind the times, probably am. That's probably already been a press release somewhere, but I wasn't aware that Star Racing Yamaha are moving their operation to Florida for next year and has bought Ricky Carmichael's farm. So that's interesting stuff. And it was just great to hear from Swanee, really. Caught up with him a few times when I've been to California. Been out for a meal with him a couple of times, but when you're out and about, you don't want to talk about a rider's career. So it's good to catch up with him on where he's at with Star Racing. Hope you really enjoyed the show. Apologies for the buffering. That's his Wi-Fi, not mine. He's got to get that sorted and improve on that. But I hope you enjoyed that chat with Gareth Swanepoel to find out what it's like training top riders. Currently got riders leading the East and West Coast Lights Championship. That's pretty impressive going. So thanks for tuning in. Obviously, I haven't been able to watch Boris's announcement in full, but it seems like, because I'm getting prepared to go on air here, but it seems like things are looking up and we could all be riding bikes by the end of March or mid-March, from what I read, from what I'm led to believe. So fingers crossed with that. So hang in there, people. We're near the end of this lockdown, it seems. So hopefully we'll be going out riding. When we do, obviously be responsible. Don't get us chucked into lockdown and tracks closed down again because you didn't social distance because you don't think you need to or whatever. We've waited this long, so let's try and get it right for when we go back, and hopefully we'll be racing soon. I'm not sure we're going to get on next week, but there's obviously a bit of politics to talk about coming up as well. Still going to concentrate a bit on AMA because that's the only thing that's happening at the minute over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe going to get some enduro riders and stuff on as well. But until then, keep safe, keep it real, and we'll be back next Monday. Don't know exactly who with, but we'll be back then. Thanks once again to the guys at Bell and FXR for getting behind what we do here. Really appreciate that. And that's me signing off. Until next week, stay safe, everybody, and I'll see you then.